Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to May Urban joining us here again today, the Urban Healer hailing from Canada. Did I say Canada? I was trying to say Canada.
Somewhere up north. It's okay, it's Friday.
How are you, hon?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. For those of you live on the podcast, she's also live on Zoom today looking stunning. Looks like she's got her hair blown out. Is that true?
I did it myself. Thank you very much. I don't often do it, but I felt like, it's Friday. Let's do it. It's sunny out.
Good for you. Looking beautiful. Please introduce yourself, your work. I know you do so much to help others, and we're going to have a great conversation as always.
Perfect. So my name is Tamaya Urban, the Urban Healer. I'm coming to you from Toronto, Canada, but I am working with international clients because everything's virtual. I started off as a registered nurse, and I've been a nurse for over 10 years now, and I've moved over towards more holistic healing. So I'm a Reiki master, NLP practitioner, life coach, clinical hypnotherapist. I love anything to do with the brain, which is kind of what we're going to be talking about today. And I just find that it's really important for us to really look at the human body from both a physical perspective, an emotional perspective, and an energetic perspective, as opposed to just isolate one. So that's me.
Oh, good. Well, we're exciting to have you here. And just to point out, the website off the top is?
Yeah, it's the urbanhealer.ca, CA because I'm in Canada. And you can also follow me on Instagram, and it's the_urban_healer.
Great. And today we're talking a little bit about the gut and how that's kind of like our second brain.
Yes. I know.
Tell me. I'm shocked at this one. Really. And they say the gut holds everything, but tell me about the second brain aspect of it. What does that mean? What is the brain axis?
So essentially what we have is there is a connection between our brain and our gut. And one of the ways I like to explain this is, let's say you're in front of someone that you really like and you get butterflies, or let's say someone tells you something really bad and then your gut drops, or you get some sort of a gut feeling. And the thing is, how many times do people say a gut feeling? Well, you don't feel with your gut per se, but actually you do. So essentially what exists is there is this axis, it's called the gut-brain axis. And it literally connects the brain to your gut. So that being said, you'll have sensations in your gut that are coming from your brain, but then you actually have a connective point between the two. So it's really important because I think a lot of people don't know about this, and a lot of people struggle with similar symptoms and issues. So if you are not taking care of your gut health, then your mind can be out of whack. But then it's if your mind is out of whack, your stomach is not going to be feeling too good either. So I just wanted to say that the two are actually connected. And I mean, me being the science nerd that I am, I love talking about kind of the science behind it, just to kind of explain it to everyone. So again, it's we've talked about this before in a few different ways, but your gut also has to do with your immune system. And that is something that everyone should be taking care of more. Mental health is super important, and most of us have some sort of digestive gut issues at some point. So when you're able to realize that all of them are actually connected and that you can't just take care of one without the other one being acknowledged, then things won't actually change and you might be stuck in a pattern. And this is definitely something that I've experienced personally, where it's I have this bloating. Why do I have this bloating? I'm eating healthy. I'm doing the supplements. I'm working out. I'm sleeping. I'm meditating. But why? What's happening? And it has to do with not really acknowledging your gut-brain axis and really knowing how they affect each other. And I think that's so important because when you think about it, the two of them are communicating with each other. So your mood is going to be affected if your gut is out of whack. But then it's if your mindset's all over the place, then you're also not going to be digesting properly. Make sense?
Do you really eat so good all the time? Are you that perfect?
Not perfect, but I do. It's I don't do dairy. I don't do gluten. I eat whole foods. I eat all the supplements. I don't I've actually stopped drinking coffee. I don't drink alcohol right now. I'm just for crap's sake.
You know what I did? You know what I did today?
What did you do? Oh, yeah, you did. I would die. I would not be able to. My gut would just shut down and be sorry, I'm leaving. Goodbye.
Sorry, but it was a lunch break. And okay. Yep, Burger King.
No, hey,
so yummy.
No judgment.
So good.
No
Thank you.
judgment.
I still have a few fries left and a nugget for later.
Hey, I love fries. That is one of my weak points. So
I know.
Enjoy your
fries.
But
in Canada, you have Burger King, McDonald's. Are those still the two largest fast food chains there as well? Or which French fries do you like better, McDonald's or Burger King?
See, I'm scared of both of them because sometimes they have a gluten coating on the back, the outside, to make it crispier. So I just don't trust it.
Okay.
But if they can tell me that
eat
they're
anything,
gluten-free,
yeah.
I love my sweet potato fries.
Oh, I love, you make them yourself?
I do. I do. But then
Well,
I
those
like
could be so
oven bake
healthy
them.
because oven bake
Yeah,
them, or the air fryer nowadays. You can use an air fryer, which I
exactly.
have in a box. I got for Christmas. I never opened it up. My sister has hers open, and the kids are loving it, and it's makes fries
Send it over.
amazing, makes
I'll use
everything.
it.
All right, good. All right, so gut and brain got me thinking about food. Clearly, sorry.
Obviously. No,
So let's
don't.
talk more about how the gut and the brain are connected.
Okay, so they're actually connected in two different ways, physically as well as biochemically. So physically, there's things called neurons, and neurons are brain cells, and they are creating like your central nervous system. Your central nervous system is your brain and your spine, and that's kind of like obviously the brain and the skull, and then
Mm-hmm.
all the spine that goes down your back. But then that actually innervates your abdomen as well because it goes into your gut. So that is one, and then it talks through like chemical ways with neurotransmitters. So things are being always transmitted. So it's like there's also chemicals going through your body. Another thing that's really interesting is that the neurotransmitters are going to be produced in your brain, but they're really going to affect how you feel and like your emotions overall. And then the thing that's like really wild, which I actually didn't realize how much connections there are, but there's about 100 billion neurons in the human brain and about 500 million neurons that are in your gut. And this is the most innervative part of your body, and it's like completely connected. So it's like, let's say you're having a stress response and something triggered you, or you're just having a really crappy day. And then it's like you're super stressed, sympathetic nervous system is like activated.
Yeah.
What's the first thing that's going to happen? Your stomach clenches, you get nauseous, you start having bloating, you don't feel good, like you just have that like stomach pain. And that's like immediate. It's like all of a sudden, if you're stressed, like your calf doesn't cramp. Your calf's just like, well, I don't know, I'm just gonna keep on walking. But it's always gonna be your stomach that's gonna be like, ooh, that didn't feel good. And then there's like some people who like immediately, if they're stressed or have some sort of anxiety, they have to go to the bathroom. So again, there's that like literal connection to the two. And it's really interesting because like your gut actually speaks to your brain, and the connection between your gut and your brain is 400 times higher than any other part of your body. And it's like, that's a lot. So it's like
Yeah.
your brain and your gut are constantly talking. So that's why brain, second brain is in your gut. And it's like something that not a lot of people know. And it's like I knew a
No.
little bit, but then I got intrigued. So I wanted to do a little more research. So again, it's like if your gut's not okay, you're not going to be thinking clearly. You're going to have like a brain fog. But then if you're like your mental health is struggling, your digestion is going to suck, and you're not going to be able to see the results that you want because you're not absorbing the nutrients that you need. So it's like you need to consider both. And it's really important because it's like the brain fog, it might not be anything to do with your brain. It can be your digestion and the fact that your gut feels inflamed or it's not absorbing the nutrients that it needs, which then can affect things like memory, concentration, focus. And it's like, think about it this way, your brain doesn't have pain receptors. So if your brain is like freaking out and it's in pain, in quotations, it's not going to feel pain. It's going to be things like a brain fog. Wild, right? And then
Wow.
it's like, I have this weird headache, and it's like the headache's not going away. And it's like, I can't concentrate. Another coffee, another coffee, another coffee. It's not working. Why is it not working? Side note,
Hmm.
that was me. And then
Wow.
it's like, no, it's actually your gut and it's your stress levels and your mindset and how you're viewing life. So it's like, if you don't nip that in the butt, it's just going to be a constant roller coaster of it going over and over and over again. And you're just like, I don't understand why nothing's working.
Is this why I have, I've been told I have IBS, very bad case, been to
Yep.
doctors, no one could figure it out. So it means,
See, that's the thing that bothers me about the Western like healthcare system. And like it's important to have absolutely,
yeah,
but then it's like if doctors can't figure out what's wrong, then it's immediately autoimmune, or oh, it's probably IBS, or oh, it's you. And
yeah.
it's like, hmm. And like valid, it's you, quotations might be your mindset or how you're handling stress, but it's like people automatically are just like, oh, it's autoimmune and not sure what we're gonna do, as opposed to being like, can we look at the bigger picture as opposed to just like, oh, your
Yeah.
gut's unwell. What else is happening in your life? Do you have unresolved trauma? Do you have more work stress? Is there something happening in your personal life? It's like it's always more than just your gut. So for you to have just your gut looked at won't give you the answer necessarily.
Yeah, but you're right. Cause then I just saw my doctor friend last week who's now doing like stem
Mm,
cell therapy and he's
mm,
known me for like 15 years and he knows my stomach issues. He's like, it happens as soon as as soon as I put anything in my body, even if it's water. And look, I had a
yeah,
cheeseburger today. My God,
yeah,
doesn't matter. I usually don't eat that way. Doesn't matter.
yeah,
It starts
yeah,
blowing up. So he says
yeah.
your neurotransmitters, it's not the
Mm,
brain, the message is not getting to the brain that there's a disconnect, something's wrong.
yeah,
So he was
yeah.
thinking about trying stem cell therapy. He's going to do some more research,
Interesting.
talk to his friends, see if that could potentially help fix things
Yeah,
that are just
yeah.
not right.
Yeah.
It's
And I mean,
interesting you
that's
said that
literally one of
today.
the things that, like, literally one of the things that I wanted to say is that when your brain's not okay, your gut's going to be off. And sometimes it's things like IBS or Crohn's. And it's because you actually have a reduced vagal tone. So the vagus nerve is the biggest nerve that's connecting your brain to your, like, the rest of your body and your gut.
Yeah.
So if there isn't a good tone, and it's like a nerve can't be like, it's not a muscle. So it's not going to be like toned and like big. But
Yeah.
if it's not being used regularly, i.e., you're always in the sympathetic nervous system, as opposed to being able to be downregulated in the
Mm-hmm.
parasympathetic nervous system because you're always on, then all of a sudden your nerve is just like, yo, I'm tired. Like, no,
Yeah.
I refuse. And then all of a sudden you don't have vagal tone where you're able to go between the two different states. And that's the whole thing with dealing with resilience and like stress, of just like having the resilience to deal with things, is like, I'm stressed, bring myself back down. Something happens, bring myself back down, as opposed to I'm stressed, I'm stressed, I'm stressed, I'm stressed, I'm stressed. And if you're constantly in this super activated state, then it's like you're all of a sudden like just you're done. And it's like,
Yeah.
when you're so tired that like coffee doesn't touch you anymore and you
Uh-huh.
couldn't do anything and you're just like, was that caffeinated? That's because you're so overstimulated. There's nothing left. Gas tank empty. And that's when you need to fully rest, fully recuperate, fully fill your tank again with self-care practices, and
Wow.
really look into like what's happening in your life. And it's like you're a very busy woman and it's like you're just maxed out. But if you're maxed out, your body's constantly in this like hyperactive state, which means you're not digesting. The moment your
Yeah. The
sympathetic nervous
the
system is activated, you're not digesting.
only thing that helps, the doctor gave me Xanax, so it relaxes my intestines. And but I can't take Xanax. If I take it, I go to sleep, which is great. So at night, it'll release all the gas in my stomach and intestines, but it doesn't help me during
Yeah.
the day. It
Yeah.
just doesn't,
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
stress, it was funny. I was reading, you said you have the stress alters the intestinal, I can't even say this word,
Mm.
epithelial permeability. That's kind of what we're
Yeah.
talking about.
100%. Well,
Wow.
the way it is, so when you're in a relaxed state, so parasympathetic nervous system is always rest and digest.
Okay.
So you need to be resting to digest. If you are stressed, and it could be like an email coming through, or you're being chased by a tiger, which most people will not be chased by a tiger,
You're
but your
so
body's
funny.
responding the same way. It's true. But then you're not going to be like, hey, I'm just going to stop and go get like a burger. And then like I'm going to eat it while running because I might die.
Yeah.
Obviously not. But in your brain, if you're feeling stressed, you're going to look at the stressor as something huge and it's like a danger. So your body immediately moves all the blood flow to where? Your big muscles, so you can run or you can fight, as opposed to going to the core of like digestion, because you're only going to be eating and digesting when it's safe for you to do so. Because you having a snack comes second to like you staying alive. I mean,
Yeah.
this could be like argued because I love snacks, but like overall, your brain is going to always think that being alive more important than snacks. So if
Got
you're
it.
not in a fully calm state, you're not digesting. So you might be eating the healthiest foods ever, be on all the right supplements. But if your gut feels inflamed and is chronically stressed, then the lining of your gut actually starts to slide apart and it's called leaky gut. So you're
Never knew
actually,
what that was. I always hear
yeah,
leaky gut, leaky gut. I'm so curious. We've touched on this before, but it still confuses
yeah,
me. Say that
yeah.
again. The wall.
So let's say this is the wall of your
Yeah.
like like insides of your belly, of where you're digesting through your stomach and your intestines. And then when your body's super stressed for a long time, it begins to slide apart. So instead of the cells being really close together and it's like a perfect puzzle piece and everything's like like kosher and closed,
Yeah.
it begins to slide apart. So now you have these little tiny holes. So when you're eating, then some of those nutrients aren't going to be absorbed. It kind of goes where it doesn't need to, or goes through you too quickly because you're not actually being able to absorb.
Got it.
But the other issue is you're also not going to have the best immune response. So your gut, it's actually really interesting. The inside of your mouth, all the way down to downstairs, is actually considered outside because it's an open tube all the way
Yeah.
out. So then if you have any bacteria, and you're supposed to have bacteria in your gut because it helps with digestion, that's great. And even if you're digesting something that might be a little bit off or something's wrong with it, it's okay, because your own body is going to just remove it and like excrete it. But if you have like a breakdown in this wall, then some of that bacteria that's not supposed to be absorbed might get into your system. So then your immune system is going to be overstimulated. But then if you're stressed, then your immune system's overstimulated anyways, and it like
Got it.
weakens the response. So then it's like a double whammy of not good of your
Mm-hmm.
body is just like feeling attacked. And that's like the whole idea with leaky gut. So it's like if you're taking the supplements and you're eating all the right things, but then you're like, it's like I'm still hungry. I still have like a bit of like the belly fat happening. I'm super bloated. It's like I don't see the results even though I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to. Then it's like consider what are your stress levels like, and what's happening in your mind. Because if your mind is constantly on a loop and you're anxious, then you're
There you
not going to be
go.
able to really relax.
Got
Yeah.
it. Wow,
Yeah.
interesting. So I always hear
Yeah.
about leaky gut and there's specialists and doctors. And then, all right. So what can affect the gut brain axis? You say it's highly connected to our immune system.
Yes. So, two things. Firstly, you need to check in on your stress levels and whether you're chronically stressed and if you have an inflammatory response happening in your body, because when you're having that, the gut is going to be leakier. So, you always need to make sure that you're being able to absorb all those nutrients. Now, the other thing that's really important is that your immune system might be affected. And I mean, pandemic or not, you want to make sure your immune system at its best, because, like, I don't want a common cold or anything else. Thank you. So you want to make sure you're taking care of that. So your gut is actually super connected to your immune system, and it actually takes care of about 80% of your immune function. So if your gut is off, your immune system isn't at its best either. And again, it's like that's a huge deal. So you want to be able to excrete any toxins, any pathogens, and if there is any sort of something in your body that it's affecting like your immunity, you want to be able to really attack it and remove it, as opposed to it actually affects you in a certain way. So this again comes down to you have to make sure your stress is okay, your mindset is okay. And this also goes back to now your brain. So if you are chronically inflamed and you have issues with your gut, it's connected to your brain, which then you might have things that are short term, like your concentration's off or your having the brain fog, but it's actually also linked to long-term degenerative issues like Alzheimer's or like dementia, or even it can be linked to depression. So it's like that's a huge thing that a lot of people are affected by.
Yeah.
But if you were able to really take care of your abdomen and your digestion and your stress levels, then your entire body is going to work at its best. Because our body is fully capable of healing anything and working through anything as long as the conditions are right. So if you are constantly being bombarded with stress, constantly being bombarded with like pathogens and toxins and chemicals
Mm-hmm.
and like processed foods and too much sugar, then your body's constantly exhausted. And then it's just like, I can't fight any battle here. So you need to again check in with your overall lifestyle. So it's
Got it.
never just one thing. And it's like, this is why I'm frustrated with the like Western healthcare system, where it's like, oh, you have anxiety, here's your pill. And I'm not saying pills are bad. Some people need it to modulate their neurotransmitters, zero judgment. Can we look at why you're anxious and go to the root cause as opposed to just
Because
like
that's just a
ignore it?
temporary relief. The pill is not a
Yeah,
fix. It's a
exactly.
soother, smoother. It's a pacifier, like a
No,
kid. Yeah.
absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like some of the research that I was doing, and it was really interesting, is things like irritable bowel syndrome can actually be reduced in terms of how many episodes you're having if you're on the right probiotic. So, probiotics is having the right bacteria, like flora in your abdomen for you to
Yeah.
properly digest.
Well, then
And it can also be affected to things like depression and anxiety. So, having the right probiotic can actually affect your mental health as well.
I've done all the probiotics, but then there's also a thing they say called SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. Did you ever hear of that?
Yeah, but then you want to make sure that you're on the
How do you,
right
yeah, how
probiotic,
do you know? Yeah. How do you know what
which
works for you? It doesn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like I understand that it's super frustrating. And I also just want to acknowledge that sometimes seeing those holistic healers like a naturopath and doing all the testing is really expensive. And this is out of some people's budgets. And I get that because like I drop a lot of money on this and I'm like, oh Lord. And I do want to acknowledge that. But then it's like you can focus on things like your stress levels, focus on things like your mindset instead, and see if that will calm down your mind and your gut. So again, acknowledging that this is a struggle and this is something that isn't very
Yeah.
accessible to a lot of people, which is unfortunate because it would make such a big difference in people's lives.
Good. Now, how can we strengthen this gut brain connection technically?
So the big thing is your diet, your lifestyle, and your mindset. And these are things that you can tweak on your own without a healthcare professional. Of course, always seek medical attention before making
Mm-hmm.
big changes. But for your gut health, doing things like eating a whole foods based diet, having omega 3s, fiber, and fermented foods, that's all going to be really good for you to have not like better elimination. So you're removing toxins out of your body, but then also making sure that the gut flora is at its best. Taking a probiotic is really important. I will not be able to ever advise anybody on this because there's so many different kinds and it just
I
depends on so many.
or something. I tried to read
Yeah,
the labels. There's
yeah.
billion of them. Like, what?
I know it's like 10, 5, 8. I don't
Hmm.
know. So that being said, just like try to eat whole foods based overall in your diet, as opposed to having something that's overly processed or super high sugar. Because things like that are really high in sugar, one, I mean, it's not good for you, but also it will fuel the bad bacteria and then you can have an overgrowth. So if you have things that are like harder to digest, you're putting more stress on your digestive system. But at the same time, you're actually going to feed the bacteria that you want to get rid of. And that can be viruses and fungi as well. So it's like you don't want to have any of that. Then the big thing is being really mindful of your stress levels. And this is like, we all have busy lives. 100%. And like, no one's like, I'm just going to take a full day off. Well, that's nice. Like, life still goes on and you got to get things done. But you can be more mindful with how you spend your time. So when you wake up, is the first thing you do scroll on Instagram or check your email? Or can you take 15 minutes to check in with your breath and just see how you're feeling? Do a little bit of stretching, like do a meditation, do anything, but don't let it be like an immediate stress response. And that's how you start your day. And then it's like also being really mindful of your self-care. And it doesn't need to be like, oh, I'm going to the spa and I'm dropping a couple $100. It can just be like, do breath work. You can do it online. There's apps for that. Meditation, there's some that are like online and that are free. Working with a Reiki practitioner or working with any other sort of energy healer, doing EFT tapping. Like there are a lot of resources that are free online. So it's like there are ways of accessing this. And then check in with your mindset. If
Hmm.
you have like a bit of a negative mindset of like life is really hard and this always happens to me and look at this and da 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 da,
Okay.
then you need to check your mindset of just how can you change that? Because every time you have those negative thoughts and you're on that loop, it's going to really affect your stress response and then neurotransmitters are going through your body, which then affects your gut, which affects your digestion, which then affects so many other things. Also, there's a dog.
Oh, I love it. I love it. So cute. Oh, so beautiful. What's
Thank you.
his
This
or
is
her name?
it's Bo, and this is
Oh,
my partner's dog. I'm
oh, how
babysitting.
amazing. Adorable. Now that's perfect. That should have
There
been
you
the
go.
background the whole time because
I
you
know
got
I
the
should have
cool
up my
pillow.
sleeve.
I
Yeah,
would have
thank you.
noticed the dog right away.
Branding.
So,
Yes,
yes.
you would have. Yeah.
Oh, and it
Just a
matches
small wolf,
perfectly
no
your
big deal.
colors and the couch and the gray on his
It
fur.
does. Yes. Yes.
Perfect compliment.
I know.
Oh
That's
my
that's why we
goodness.
started dating. I was like, your dog is cute. Thank you.
Right, right. Oh, cute. What a cute little family. Oh, okay. Sorry,
Thank
sorry.
you.
Get off topic. Okay, so yeah, there is a dog coming into play here on the screen. We're live on Zoom for those just on the radio
Yeah.
show. Like, what are they talking about? So we're talking about the importance of this. We'll get to
Yes.
that, finish that, and then we'll summarize what we went over today.
Yes. And there you go.
Oh,
And then
he's
there's a
taking a
cute dog in the
nap.
background. I know it's a spoiled little brat, but in the best way possible. And then my pup has to be created, otherwise they're kind of at it in the cutest way. So cute. So yeah, so the whole idea is to check in with your daily stressors. Know that some of them are self-imposed and not in a blaming judgmental way, but it's like you need to check how you're looking at life overall and how it's affecting you. So how can you do less, delegate more, take more time for breathing, take more time for like just relaxing, being grounded, super important. Exactly. It's like roll
Don't
down those
do. I
shoulders, nice
know,
big
but
breath. And then it's like, I know it's really important for us to be mindful when we eat. So it's like, how long do you take to eat, really? What, 10 minutes, 15 minutes? But can you do it without any distractions? So you're not checking emails, you're not watching TV, you're not doing a little bit of work, you're not like cleaning and eating. I do that all the time. I'll be like doing dishes and like having a few bites. Don't do that. Give yourself that moment to rest so you can really digest. Otherwise, how much money do you spend on that fancy food? And if you're trying to eat like organic and stuff, and your gut isn't happy because you're stressed, so then you're not even digesting it, then you just wasted money.
true,
10
true.
minutes, 10 minutes. You have
Okay.
10 minutes, just saying. And then it's like, we always have these constant issues. Like a lot of my clients are like, I'm just bloated and like I have indigestion and like I'm not seeing the results. So if you're having that pattern and you've really gone to a doctor, then maybe look at it from a different angle.
Yep.
Is it your chronic stress? Is it your anxiety isn't under control? Maybe you're not happy in like the workplace that you're in, or you're having a struggle with some family members, maybe putting some boundaries in. But just know that there are ways of really like making things work. And like again, we spend so much money on like doing the workouts, eating healthy food, doing the supplements, going to all the practitioners. But if you're not really checking in with your stress levels and your mindset, you're not going to see the results and you're really just stressing your body out even more. So always check in with how you're viewing life overall. How can you make it easier and make sure that your mindset is in order.
Beautiful.
There you go.
Thank
Thank you. Thank
you.
you. Thank
All
you.
right. Wow. This is great. So again, if you have gut issues, you said check your stress mindset. We just talked about
Yeah.
struggling with digestion, check your stress and gut health, and then check your stress levels first. Self-care priority. We got a positive mindset. And we
So can
want
I
to
say
reach,
stress one more time? It's
yeah,
probably your
stress.
stress levels. So it's always stress and it's not your fault, but you can make tiny adjustments so then you can feel more taken care of.
All right.
There you
And
go.
how can we reach you, Tamaya?
Yes. So the urbanhealer.ca is my website, and I do have a couple freebies on there. So check it out. And then also my Instagram is the period urban period healer. And there's going to be a giveaway happening. So check out my stories.
Awesome. Thank you so much for
Amazing.
being here, and to Bo as well. Beautiful.
Yes.
Adorable. He fell asleep. Have a great
Done.
day and an even better
You
weekend, hon.
too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.